Monday, where David Fizdale has officially been relieved of his duties as the Memphis Grizzlies head coach. Now, that comes one night after David Fizdale benched Marc Gasol in their loss to the Nets. All right, let's talk about this a little bit. This is what Gasol had to say after the game. He said, "If I'm not on the floor, then I'm not valued. I'm sure the coaching staff knew that would hurt me the most." Now, this is a team who went to the playoffs last season, CT, are 7-12 this season. How attractive is this job?
This is not a good job at all. When you look at this roster, they only have two quality players, of course, Marc Gasol and Mike Conley. Conley trying to battle through an Achilles injury. He has some Achilles soreness. He's missed the last 6 games. Of course, the Grizzlies have lost every single game that Conley has not played. Consequently, they've lost 11 of 13. You mentioned it. Fizdale took this team to the playoffs last season, and now this year when they hit the skids, he's out. Understand the GM and the front office, they tried to wait too long with that core that they had of Gasol, Conley, the grit and grind core with Tony Allen and Zach Randolph, and now that Randolph and Tony Allen are no longer on this team, you don't have any other young players. You got Chandler Parsons, who you gave a lot of money to, who's injury prone. You have Tyreke Evans, a guy that you can't count on, and then you have Mario Chalmers. When those are the guys that you're counting on, you're not going to be successful. And as the players age and the Grizzlies have one of the oldest teams in the NBA, you don't have any young talent. There's a couple of ways to get better in the NBA. One way is through the draft. Well, the Grizzlies were always a playoff team, so they never really had a high draft pick. Or you can get better in free agency. You owe a lot of money to Chandler Parsons. You owe a lot of money to Gasol, so you're not going to be doing a lot in free agency. And then you can't really tank in Memphis because Memphis, let's be honest, that's not really a good sports town. So if you tank there in Memphis, fans might not go to the game. That starts affecting the bottom line. Then you have all sorts of issues. So, Abby, of course, the head coach is the fall guy a lot of times. He had the beef with Marc Gasol.
So surprising.
If it's between the player and the coach, normally it's the coach. But we might need to start looking at the GM.
I mean, what can you do when Marc Gasol is on a max contract? You can't move him. So, I mean, someone had to go. But what if they continue to fail? I mean,
the coach was in a bad spot, but you have to look at the GM who assembled this bad roster. Chris Wallace needs to take a look in the mirror because he's a big reason why the Grizzlies are in bad shape.
Yes. Well, David Fizdale, I'm sure, will land on his feet. Did a good job with Memphis last season. And I know they struggled a little bit this season, but he will land.